Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Margherita and I'd like to show you how to make these ones. So this is my new journal. I made it yesterday and this morning. And as you can see here, the binding is exposed, so you can see the pages and you can also see that they are colored. So this technique, I started using it, I think, a few years ago, I don't remember now. And it's very important for me because I consume a lot of journals. I use probably 3 to 5 journals a year. And it makes sense for me to make my own journals. It's really easy to make them, I can design them how I want. And they also open the door for recycling because you just need a little bit of cardboard and then paper, and you can also use paper that you printed only on one side, for example. And what you need is also thread and needle, of course. But if you want to do a basic project, then these are all the things you need. You don't need anything else to create a journal. Then, of course, if you want to make it a little bit more fancy, and for example, here you can see I put an elastic, so that required a little bit more things like glue, for example, or I'm not sure how you call this, staple maybe, I don't know. And also when you open them, they lay completely flat, the pages lay completely flat, which I really like. I particularly like this. So I'll show you in this video how I make it, but also I will tell you why I think it's so beneficial to journal, why I consume so many journals in a year, but that's gonna be at the end of the video. So if you want to skip to that part, you can find in the description box where I speak about different things. To start with this project, you will need basically, I just said cardboard, pages and thread and needles, but there are many things that could be said about these materials. For example, the cardboard, you can of course use cardboard taken from a box, just cutting it the right size, but you want to keep in mind that if the cardboard is squishy, then the journal won't be so solid. And for this one, for example, you can see that the cardboard is really compact, and I also put 2 layers of cardboard for each cover. And speaking about the cardboard, you can choose between keeping the cardboard how it is and just decorate it like I did, for example. These are mandalas that I created following tutorials online from this guy that I don't remember the name, but I will link the tutorials down below here. He has a very nice channel. But yeah, the other option would be also to cover your cardboard, and you have to do it, of course, before you pinch the holes and you create the journal. So when the cardboard is just cardboard, you can cover it with other paper that you like colorful paper or whatever you want, even fabric, just by gluing it. You cut the paper or the fabric, whatever, a little bit bigger than your cardboard, and then you cut the corners out to create these little things that you can bend on the other side. So you glue it, and then you glue also these like 4 things, I don't know how to call them. And then in the inside, you will have these little bits that you glued, and then here it would be just cardboard. And to cover this, you just cut a smaller rectangle with your covering paper or fabric or whatever you choose, and then you just stick it over on here, and it will make it look really, really nice and clean. So yeah, this is in case you want to cover your cardboard, but remember to do it before you pinch the holes. So yeah, this about the cardboard. And then for the pages, this one has 50 A4 sheets of paper, 80 grams, so normal, the regular paper that you use for printing. The only thing is that it's colored. You want to think that the dimension is important. So for example, this one is an A5 because all the pages are A4 folded in half. And that's the most practical, of course, if you have A4s, because then you don't need to cut anything, you just need to fold. Each of these little groups of paper have 5 sheets. I have 5 colors of this paper, so this is why I've put 5. It's recommended to keep in mind the size of your paper. So for example, this paper is 80 grams, and so this is why I could put actually 5 sheets of paper in one little group. But if the paper is thicker, like if you're creating a drawing block with drawing paper, then normally the paper will be thicker, and so you can put like 3 sheets of paper. So this one has 50 sheets of paper, and then each group has 5, and so each sheet of A4 paper makes 4 different pages in a journal like this. So this means that in total this journal has 200 pages, which is not bad at all. I think it's like my favorite size. And speaking now about the thread, of course you can use any thread that you like. What I like to use, and I also recommend, is this kind of thread, which you cannot tell just by looking at it, but it's waxed. So when you're buying it, you want to find wax thread. The wax makes it easier to work with because it's easy to slide through the paper and it doesn't break the paper. If the thread is not waxed, the risk is to not only break the paper, but also it makes knots on himself really way easier. I tried it a lot to use the not waxed thread, and there is a huge difference. So I always recommend the wax thread, and of course you see here that I used it, it's really fine. You can also use it double, it's okay. You have to be a little bit more careful to not break the paper, but you can use it double. And then for this thread I use this needle, this is also for bookbinding. I don't know for what else it is used, probably also something else, but it's very handy because it's so curved. And of course you can use any needle you like, as long as it's big enough to let this thread through. But this is so much comfortable to work with to create this journal, so I recommend this one. And if you buy a set, a kit for bookbinding, I found it years ago on Amazon. It came with this one and also with another tool that I recommend, which is this one, to pinch holes both on the cardboard where the thread goes in and also in the paper, in the back of the paper. Of course you can use also any needle like before, and you can push the needle through the cardboard using, I don't know, like the cup of a glue or anything hard that can help you push it through the cardboard. But yeah, this is so easy to use, and also this comes in the kit. I forgot I had this actually, so I didn't use it for my project, but this is to flatten down the folds of paper. You will see in the video that I did it with a knife because I didn't know that I had this with me. As you can see here, the journal is thicker here where is the fold. Keep in mind that you have to really fold the paper really well to get a good looking journal. So these are the things, the basics that you need. Of course, you also need a cutter for the cardboard and a ruler, of course, also to measure the space between the holes. And here you can see that the holes have different distances from the border, from the edge. And here on the other side, they have the same distance. This is totally up to you. It makes no difference for the binding. So you can create these nice designs as much as you want with the holes. Then regarding the elastic, and this bit that I don't remember what's called, and this pocket, I took them all from my old journal, which is this one, and this I found it for like £1, but I have the habit of destroying my journal, so this is gonna be destroyed soon, and I decided to take anything that could be recycled. So in this case it was the elastic, which you can see I just took out, and then the inside pocket and the little thing that I don't remember the name of, which is actually a little bit short, as you can see, because I cut it from the other journal. Of course, I will show you how I've put this stuff on, but it's totally optional. And if you want to recreate them, they're easy to find anywhere. You don't need to dismantle another journal to create them. So to start, you will just need your paper. Here you can see that I'm making my groups of 5 sheets of paper each, and I'm folding them. I don't recommend to use a knife. If you can, use something less sharp. But keep in mind that the folds have to be really tight to make a good looking journal, like I just said. And here you can see that I'm trying different things out. I'm trying to see, do I prefer the blue inside? Do I prefer the pink inside? At the end I decided for the pink. But of course this is absolutely up to you. You can also just use all white paper or all black paper or whatever really. And then this is a template that I use to pinch the holes. So you see that I'm tracing how far from each other the holes have to be, and I did it perfectly symmetrical because that's gonna be very helpful to create the journal. It's gonna make things much easier. And here what is important is that to pinch the holes you need to align the paper perfectly, otherwise the holes would be off center and the journal would not come out so nice. And here you can see that I'm preparing the cover, so I'm cutting the cardboard first and then I'm preparing the inside pocket before gluing the cardboard together. And for this inside pocket, what I did was basically creating a 3-folded paper, and to make it I added a piece of paper because the A4 was not large enough, and then I've put these black pieces inside the first 2 folds of the paper, and I glued these 2 folds so that the black pieces are really nice and solid. And then the other piece of paper that is gonna be on top is not gonna be glued clearly on everything, but just on the black bits, so that it's gonna be a pocket, if that makes sense. And if you're interested, again, check out these tutorials because it was really relaxing to make these little designs. I really enjoyed it, and I think I also learned something new about sacred geometry, so I really recommend this tutorial and this channel. And here I'm making the holes for my elastic. So I'm making the holes only on one part of the two cardboards that are gonna make my cover, my back cover. And that's because I don't really want my elastic to come through all the way inside my journal, all the way through the whole cover. I want to hide the elastic between the two pieces of cardboard. And here you can see that I'm pushing the elastic through. You should keep in mind, if you're making the elastic as well, that it should be a little bit loose because you're gonna wrap the entire journal with it. I'm using these paper clips to hold the paper aligned together, the cardboard, even if it's not glued yet. And here I'm using the stapler, now I know how it's called, to secure the elastic. And that little staple that you see is gonna be covered by the pocket. And you can see that I'm leaving a little bit of space on one side. That is because I need space to pinch my holes on the cover. I don't want to pinch my holes through the cover and through the pocket, so I need the pocket to be a little bit off-center. Another reason why I use two pieces of cardboard glued together is because of the bookmark. And so I just put glue where I want the bookmark to be, and then I add the glue everywhere else to glue the two pieces together finally. Once it's glued, what I did was putting it under a bunch of books, and that's because sometimes while it's drying it can become curved a little bit, so it's good to have something that is heavy that press down your paper while the glue is drying. For the other cover I didn't have anything to hide, so I basically just glued the two pieces and that's it, and I put some weight on it as well. And here I'm tracking the points where I want my holes to be on the cover. This is the cover where I have my pocket on the other side, so I don't want the holes to be a little bit too much inside. And you see also that I made them so that they look a little bit coherent with the design that I made. Once everything is ready, the only thing left to do is to select your thread. I decided to use the black, and then you have to cut a bit of thread. It doesn't matter if you run out of it through the project, because you can easily add some new thread. I will show you later how to do this. So I had to remake this part because I realized that the camera didn't shoot exactly what I wanted. It wasn't clear what I was doing at the beginning, so I'm just gonna remake the beginning. Let's pretend this is the cover and this is the first group of paper. And so what I want to do is, of course, once I have my thread and my needle, I want to make a knot at the end of the thread. And then what I want to do is to put the thread through from the inside of the paper. So I'm gonna go inside and then pop it out, you see, like this, and pass it through until the end. And then I want to go on the cover, so from the outside of the cover. Let's pretend this is the outside with the geometric design, and I'm gonna put the needle through, and then what I have is this, and this is what I have now, you see. This thread now should go on this side actually, so I'm just gonna flip it like this. To remember this, you should think that the loose thread should go in the direction where you're going to work, so this direction. So this thread for me shouldn't pop out here, but should pop out here. And now what I want to do is to loop this thread around itself here. So I'm just gonna pass the needle down here and then through, and this is what I get now. You see, it's not a knot, it's just a loop. And then once I have this, I pass it back through inside the paper, the groups of paper, if I can do it like this, and pass it through completely. And of course remember to keep it very tight, and then from the inside it will look like this. And now I continue, so now I go through the other hole, the next hole, I pass it through, and I repeat the same process. So now I go through the outside of the cover, pass it through, come out from this side, like this, and then loop it around, like this. Make it tight, and then put it back inside the paper. So now let's go back to the original video. So now just keep going and continue binding the cover with the first group of pages, and try to keep it as tight as you can, because the cover can get a little bit loose, so it's very, very important to pull the thread very well and to keep it as tight as you can. When you get to the last hole of the group of paper, it's time now to attach the second group of paper. And to do that, instead of putting the thread back inside the last hole of the first group of paper, you will put it in the first hole of the second group of paper. So now continue binding the second group of paper to the first group of paper, and when you're looping the thread around, you will just loop it around the thread that is between the first group of paper and the cover, if that makes sense. I hope you can understand it from the video, and then just put the thread back inside the second group of paper and continue like this. And of course, when it's time to attach the third group of paper, what you need to do is just loop it around the thread between the first group of paper and the cover. And then loop it around again between the first and the second group of paper, and then put it back inside the first hole of the third group of paper. So just continue like this, and now I will show you also how you can add new thread if you run out of thread in the middle of the project. So basically you have to do it in the inside of the journal. So when you're getting the thread a little bit short, not too short, you have to decide to make a knot inside the journal. And this is how you do it. So you basically loop it around the previous bit of thread and then make a knot. And you just add more thread by putting it through the next hole that you have, and of course make a knot before putting the thread through, but yeah, this is how you do it, how you add more thread. So here you see that I arrived to the green group of paper, and this means that I have only one left before the last cover. I have only one blue left before the last cover, and to attach the blue group of paper and the cover, I have to attach them together to the rest of the journal. So when I'm done with the green, what I want to do is, after looping the thread around between the green and the yellow group of paper, which the yellow was the one before the green, of course, instead of putting it back inside the green group of paper, what I want to do is to put it inside the cover from the outside while holding together the whole journal. So also the blue group of paper that is not attached yet. So now I want to loop the thread between the cover and the last group of paper, so in my case the blue group of paper, and then I put it through and inside the blue group of paper. So the thread now will pop out from the second hole of the blue group of paper, and then what I want to do for the whole cover, every time the thread comes out from the blue group of paper, I want to loop it from the outside of the cover and then loop it around on himself between the cover and the blue group of paper, and then again I want to loop it also between the blue and the green group of paper, and then back inside in the blue group of paper. And of course make sure you pull the thread really nicely here, because it's very important to make it super tight. The covers tend to be a little bit loose, so if you don't want that effect, then you have to pull everything close together. To finish the project is really easy, because everything you have to do is just put a knot, like we already saw earlier. Put a knot inside the journal and then chop the thread, the excess thread off, and there you go, you have a journal. You don't need to do anything else. Like, you could put some glue on the knot, but it's not necessary. For my experience, the knot holds really well anyway. The reason why I find journaling so important for me is that a few years ago I've read this book from Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way, a book to recover your, let's say, creative self and have the courage to express yourself creatively, which is something that I find a lot of people would benefit from. Not only people who want to be an artist, but for anything in life you have to be creative. So I found it like really, really a good book in general, besides like the fact it is focusing on art. And so the morning pages were a tool, the most important tool of the book. And it's basically automatic writing. So you wake up and you have to write. So you write at least 3 pages, I think it was, or at least this is what I do, or I used to do 3 full pages, like force myself to write 3 full pages of my journal every single morning as soon as I woke up, because that's when the subconscious mind is a little bit still off guard, kind of, because we just woke up, and so it's kind of easier to connect with your deeper self in a way, although it's not only very deep stuff what comes out. So if you just let yourself writing anything you have in your mind in that moment, you can imagine that there are a lot of like silly things or things that are kind of superficial, not important, and this kind of stuff. But what is really, really important while writing these morning pages is to not judge yourself and not judge what you're writing. And that is like training your rational mind to just let it be, let it flow out. And of course, writing is a creative act. So basically you're teaching your rational mind to stop judging yourself while you're in an act of creation, which is really, really important for so many things. And so this is why I really fell in love with the morning pages, and I did it for years. In this moment I'm not really doing it, or not every day for sure, but sometimes I still sit down and just let myself write whatever I want. And so the thing is that you can imagine 3 pages every day, you can fill a journal pretty quickly. And then after that I destroy them, because I don't want to have in my mind, you know, some sort of responsibility about where is my journal, considering that a lot of silly stuff is written on it and anybody could just pick it up and say, oh, what is this, and read it, you know. And so to avoid that, the best thing that I can do for myself is just destroy them. I normally burn them, and it's really an act of liberation and, you know, moving forward. Of course, I go through the journals before burning them, and I try to memorize things that I find really nice, or sometimes I even keep some pages, or I take pictures of some pages. And so it's not that I just destroy them. It's not like, I guess it can sound a little bit extreme if I say just destroy every journal, but it's actually a very meditative act to destroy your journal. I find it really therapeutic. This is what the morning pages are for me. They're really therapeutic, and not only I use it for the morning pages, but also for all my to-do lists, which are really important because I'm not able to multitask, so I have to write everything that I have to do down, and then I check step by step if I did everything. So this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy spending a lot of time crafting my own journal, because this is a really important part of my life. It's really an important tool. And I can only recommend it. I can only recommend journaling. And also, you know, making your own journal, or even making it and giving it to a friend. I find it a really nice present. If you're familiar with my channel, you probably know that I used to have eating disorders. And it's mainly by journaling that I came out of it. Of course, it's way more complicated than that, but I never went to therapy for my eating disorder. And so journaling really helped me. It kind of took the place of a therapist in some ways. I'm not saying that therapy is pointless when you can have a journal, but since I couldn't really go to therapy for many reasons, then journaling was, let's say, my way out. And this is because when you're writing everything that you have in your mind, then there are a lot of things that you didn't expect to come up, or that normally you wouldn't pay so much attention to. Maybe you're kind of, you're trying to avoid some thoughts or something like that. So writing everything down and face everything you need to face, even if it sounds superficial or unnecessary, I feel like it is a very important habit, and it's a little bit like meditation. Also, sometimes it can happen that something really nice appears, really something really poetic appears from this automatic writing. It's not so common, but it can happen, and it's really nice to see. It's nice to see what can be channeled through you, through your consciousness on the pages. So yeah, this was my experience with journaling, and I hope you liked this video. If you have some questions about the tutorial, let me know in a comment below. I will try to answer as much as I can, and I hope to see you soon.